In order for Black people, Foundation Black Americans, to really make progress, we have to call out some of the biggest opposition. And unfortunately, some of that comes from within our own community. And we've been holding it off. But we got to call out the old school Massa lovers.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Lead YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Lead. We have things we have to discuss this evening. All right. I'm glad that we on here. I had to literally like clean my computer, get rid of all the old stuff, reset it, but we're here. So thank you guys for being here, even though we're a tad bit behind schedule. We are here and we need to discuss something that's very important, very serious. All right. We know of recent date. All right. Really within the last, in my personal opinion, the way I've seen the movement make a lot of progress really within the last 6-7 years. Okay. Really within the last decade, but we've really made a lot of progress. The way I see it within the last 6 years, 6-7 years. Okay. Now, as far as the movement is concerned, the movement of Black empowerment, it is eternal until the end of the world. Okay. Until we're done or the end of the world. That's it. All right. That's it. So from the moment we were enslaved in this country, okay, from the moment Europeans started enslaving people here, even before this country became this country, there's always been rebellions. There's always been people fighting back. That is the movement. Okay. That's a movement of justice. The movement of justice has always, um, ever since our history has existed. Okay. So all of the slave rebellions, all of that stuff, that's a movement of justice. Now, the movement takes different forms. The movement might have different names. The movement might have different focuses depending on the time and the circumstance. All right. But the movement ultimately is just Black empowerment. That's just what it is. Okay. So whether that's Black empowerment when we were talking about Nat Turner and that's rebelling against slave masters, or whether that's Black empowerment as far as Harriet Tubman and that's freeing people from slavery, or whether that's um, Black empowerment as far as the fighting in the Civil War, or Black empowerment as far as anything else, Black empowerment as far as Reconstruction or the Civil Rights Movement, Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, or Rosa Parks, or you know what I'm saying, the Black Panthers, or even today, you know, or as far as reparations, even if you want to say, even if we want to give a little bit of credit, if we want to get a little credit to the quote unquote Black Lives Matter movement, even though we know as far as the head of the movement, that wasn't our, creation. As far as the head of the movement, the organization, I mean, as far as the head of the organization, it wasn't ran based off of us. Those were, agents and tethers and stuff like that who were sent by the dominant society to really try to get ahead of it. But the movement, they didn't create that movement, because that movement has always existed. That movement has existed from Nat Turner to John Horst to Harriet Tubman to Sojourner Truth to Ida B. Wells to Malcolm X to Martin Luther King to Huey Newton to Bobby Seale to all the way up until today to Muhammad Ali and Tupac, and all the way up until today. The movement has always existed. All right. And it will forever exist. As long as we keep it going. All right. As long as we keep it going, the movement is going to change and is going to evolve depending on the circumstance. All right. So right now, our circumstance, what the focus is we're making right now is reparations. Okay. Another important focus. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Oh, what? Hold on. My okay. Okay, my bad, y'all. I don't know why that happened. Okay, my microphone. Okay, I don't know why that happened. My webcam just cut off. Okay, but anyway, see, every time I get to really cooking, something happened like that. So you know what I'm saying. But okay, anyway, that's what I'm talking about as far as the movement is concerned. You feeling where I'm coming from? Are you feeling where I'm coming from? So one of the things that we're talking about right now is reparations. Another thing that is very important that we're talking about right now is delineation. This is the form that the movement is right now. All right. These are the focuses rather of the form right now. Okay. We are having a focus on the form. Now when we say delineation, the main thing we think of is the separation from us and the distinction from us and the rest of other groups of people, including the diaspora. But we also have a focus when it comes to delineating. We have to have a focus of circling the wagon, which is really the core reason for the delineation in the first place, is because shout out to Dr. Um, Claude Anderson. When you group all of these people together, it dilutes the movement because you have all of these other different agendas and all of these other cultures and all of these other interests. So we've always been taught that we need more people in the movement, and that's been a flaw. That has been an incredible detriment for us to believe. Even, and I'm going to have to say it, even within our own group of people, we have to circle the wagon. Let me tell you why. Because back in the day, there was a lot of slave rebellions. It was a lot of slave rebellions. Many of them were successful, which is good, which is a really good thing. Many of them were very successful, and that's really good. But unfortunately, not enough of them were. Not enough of them were successful. Now, why was not enough of them successful? The reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because it doesn't take. Let's do a little math. Do a little bit of math, right? If 30 people tried to rebel against slavery, if they came together, and they said, you know what, we're all going to rebel against the slave master. When he goes to sleep, we're going to go into the barn. We're going to get ourselves some weapons. We're going to get some, whether it's sticks or guns, whatever the case is, we're going to get some weapons. We're going to take the children to safety. We're going to burn the slave master's house down. And then we're going to go to this plantation. We're going to do the same thing and all of that stuff. If 30 people came together and said we were going to do this, how many people do you think it would take to mess it up? One person. It would only take one single person to ruin the whole thing. It would all be over. It would all be ruined. It would all be messed up. If one person, and this is the problem, because unfortunately, this is the reality. It takes a group of people to be on code to make progress, but it really only takes one person. It doesn't take the majority. It takes one person to mess it all up. It takes one person to throw it all away and mess it all up and to ruin it all. All right. This is why we have to circle the wagon, because we keep realizing, okay, we keep making progress and progress and progress. And then all of a sudden, it seems like we're starting from the finish line. How do we keep on starting from the finish line? What is going on? And that's because it takes us a lot of time and energy to start a fire. You guys know how you would take a stick and you would kind of rub the sticks together and all of that and create the friction. You would put that on the wood. You got to blow it to get the air and all of that stuff. And you would start this fire. It would take a lot of effort to start the fire. And it only takes one person with a little bucket of water to, fire's gone. You getting wood, you getting trees, you getting sticks and stuff like that, and we all working together and we all starting this fire, and one person with a small little cup of water just fire's gone. Now you got to start all over again. And this is why we need to circle the wagons and understand who is the impediment, people who are impediment to Black empowerment. So without any further ado, I'm going to start saying this because this needs to be said. We got a lot of old school Massa lovers, like the people say these old niggas who will sell the rest of the group out for their own benefit, for their own book deal, for their own TV show, for their own channel, or whatever the case is, for their own personal financial benefit. They will sell everybody out and won't care. Okay, they won't care. They can sleep like a baby on money knowing that they sold you out, just like a person can sleep with a stomach full of butter biscuits knowing that he sold out the slave rebellion, knowing that folks is getting lynched right now because he snitched on them, but he's full of butter biscuits. Now, we're going to play some clips. Before we do that, we're going to have to play the copyright disclaimer to establish to YouTube that everything we play thus forth will be protected under the guise of fair use. So as we're doing that, what I would greatly appreciate for you all to do is hit that thumbs up button. Hit that share button, leave a comment. We'll be right back, y'all. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, all right. Okay, we're here. We're here now. Now, let's play this. Hold on. Let's play this. I want to start off with this one because we just passed Juneteenth. We just got done with Juneteenth. So let's start off right here.
Look.
Okay, this and for some reason, nobody can really give a legitimate explanation. Nobody really can, but Juneteenth just bothers everybody. It really does. It just pisses everybody off. Nobody likes it, or none of these people. Okay? Now look at what he has to say.
Man, y'all don't get mad at me. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I love the 4th of July. I can't stand Juneteenth. You know, and when you read about Juneteenth, Juneteenth all right. Black folks found out they was free. Glory, hallelujah, Lord, we's free. Why would Vince Ellison not like Juneteenth when he's celebrating the freedom of black folks here in the United States of America? I'll tell you why. Because it ain't about black folks being free. It's about who black folks say gave them their freedom. You say, what's the difference? Well, on the 4th of July, the Founding Fathers said their freedom came from God. In Juneteenth, black folks say their freedom came from government. There's a difference. That means we believe that government is our God.
Look, I don't speak French. Who was all this we? We believe our freedom came from the government. We believe the government is God. We do not believe the government. If we believed that the government was God, we wouldn't have rebelled against slavery in the first place. If we believed that, there would be zero slave rebellions. There would be zero fighting against the government. There would be zero even asking anybody for reparations if we believe the government is God. And when it comes to Juneteenth, the government freed us. The government, first off, the only reason why a civil war was ever fought in the first place is because of the Union. But the real thing is the only reason the Civil War was won is because of foundational Black Americans. Point blank, period. End of discussion. Now, even though that's the end of discussion, we're going to continue to play the rest of the video because he says some more stuff that we're going to have to refute. We're going to definitely have to refute. Talking about we think the government is God. Like, dude, okay.
People that celebrate the 4th of July say, no, God gave us our freedom. Our freedom is an unalienable right, irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. The government cannot touch it. They have no right to touch it. They cannot give it to us. They cannot take it away from us. It is ours. Juneteenth celebrates the day that we were given our freedom, something that's a complete contradiction from what God says. By whom? By the white man. And the bad thing about Juneteenth that really aggravates you is that the Democrats, the white Democrats, were the ones that were keeping you from your freedom and took your freedom from you. And now they passed a law and gaslit a bunch of ignorant black people in believing that the Democrats were the ones that gave them their freedom.
Oh God. And here we go with this tired talking point that it was the Democrats who had you in slavery. Now, y'all know, if you guys are not new to this channel, if you guys have been here for at least a good few months or so, y'all know for a fact I am not a Democrat to the slightest degree, but I'm also not a Republican at all. All right. I'm not going to sit up here and be all like, really, it was the Democrats who had us in slavery and the Republicans freed us from slavery. No, we're trying, and when they word it this way, they make it seem like it was two completely in opposing governments. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are both parties of an in sync government. All right. We keep, and don't let the news and the media and all of that confuse you guys. There is no like rivalry like that between the Democrats and the Republicans. Not when it comes to us. Not really, to be very honest. Not when it comes to us. They have disagreements. Of course they do. They're different parties. They have a different vision of the country. That's why you have different parties. You have different parties, okay, who have different visions of the country. All right. That's what it is. But we hear this talking point. As if it was just the Democratic Party. Now, we can hold the Democratic Party accountable, even though there was like a political switch, really, or ideological switch. But we're not going to make it seem like the Republicans were just, the Republicans just love black people and love justice and anything like that. Abraham Lincoln himself, who was a Republican, and they crown Abraham Lincoln as if Abraham Lincoln was some type of messiah or something. Abraham Lincoln himself said that he wouldn't free any of the slaves unless he had to. He would have preferred not to free nobody, but he had to because that was the only way that they were able to save the Union. Okay, that's the only way. Plus, you had a whole bunch of slave rebellions. You had a whole bunch of people who are escaping slavery. You had a whole bunch of that stuff. So they were really losing their grip off slavery in the first place. They were really losing that. Okay, and then you had free states, and then you had the Union, and all of these things factor together. Abraham Lincoln couldn't keep slavery. That's why he made the Emancipation Proclamation, or signed the Emancipation Proclamation. All right, it wasn't out of the kindness of his heart. Abraham Lincoln was still just as much of a white supremacist racist, saying that he did not believe in the equality of the black man and white man. He would see to it that the white man held the superior position, or was assigned rather the superior position. All right, let's be very clear with that. Let's continue.
I mean, dadgummit, if you're gonna celebrate Juneteenth, at least give the Republicans credit for giving you the freedom. No. You're going to let the Democrats, Joe Biden, Jim Clyburn, a bunch of ignorant jokers from the Black Caucus, pass a holiday celebrating the day that someone else freed them from you. That's like the dope man celebrating the day that you went to drug rehab and got freed from it. That's like your abusive husband celebrating the day that the police came and beat the hell out of him and kept to keep and stopped him from beating the hell out of you. That's like a chicken celebrating the day that Colonel Sanders caught him, fried him up, and put him in a 12-peat basket.
To be honest, that's not making no sense. I'm trying to follow along, but that's not making no sense, honestly.
Man, shit. Oh my goodness. That's Joe Biden celebrating the day that Donald Trump beat the hell out of him. Pass a holiday. I want to celebrate the day that Donald Trump beat me. The Democratic Party had black people in chains in the cotton fields picking cotton even after the emancipation had been passed. The Republicans sent...
Was it the Democratic Party or was it slave masters? Notice when people talk about slavery, when people refer to slavery, they try to make it seem like it was a political thing instead of a racist thing. It wasn't really racism. It was a political party that did it. Notice that when these groups of people who talk about slavery, when they talk about slavery, they only talk about it in the context of a political party's agenda. Instead of these were individual slave masters. These people were most of these slave masters. I mean, there were a lot, but of these slave masters were not all politicians. These people were just people who had wealth, people who had money. These people, and they're not all politicians who work for the Democratic Party. There were people who were Democrat, and there were people who were Republican as far as their party affiliation who owned slaves. Because with this logic, no Republican would own a slave. But there were Republicans who also owned slaves as well. So it wasn't a party affiliated thing. Okay? It was white people who said black people really don't have no rights. And they're chattel. That's why.
Their army down to release them from slavery. The Republicans freed them, and then the Democratic Party said, we're going to pass a holiday celebrating the day that Republicans freed y'all from us. And black folks said, hell yeah!
First, and here's another thing, and I know I'm pausing it a lot. I know I am. Here's another thing, right? To be honest, to be very honest with you, we never asked for Juneteenth to become a federal holiday. We were perfectly fine with Juneteenth not being a federal holiday. As a matter of fact, most black folk didn't want Juneteenth to be a federal holiday. Okay, didn't want it to be federally recognized. We never asked for that. When it happened, most of black people was all like, oh, here it goes. Now here comes a bunch of problems. Now notice that we're dealing with a lot of problems that we didn't have to deal with when Juneteenth was just a cultural holiday, something that we were the only people who really knew about it, something that we were the only people who celebrated. Okay, now since it became a federal holiday, now we got to deal with folks trying to colonize it. Now we got to deal with folks trying to demonize it. Now we got to deal with folks trying to invade it. Now we got to deal with all of these issues that we didn't have to deal with before when it was just us. So to be honest with you, most of us said, we would have preferred it not be that. Joe Biden, the one who made it that, we weren't like, oh my God, thank you, Joe Biden. Nobody asked Joe Biden to do that. As a matter of fact, nobody wanted him to do that. So we aren't like, hell yeah, thank you, Juneteenth. Like we didn't know about Juneteenth and we weren't already doing what we were doing. None of us, not me, not my family, I'm sure not many of you and your family, none of us was all like, I didn't really know about Juneteenth until 2021. Ain't none of us was like that, especially if you have family rich in the South. If a lot of your family is in the South, none of us was like that.
And then told black folks in the process, just one stipulation. You guys have to give us the credit Even though we had you enslaved, y'all have to give us the credit for you being released. And black folks say, as long as I get the day off, and me sitting here, look at him like this. You know those people that had you enslaved, yeah? And now you're celebrating the day that someone else died to free you from them. You're not giving the people that freed you.
Now, notice that. Notice he slipped that in. You're celebrating the day that someone else died to free you. Who is that someone else? Our people had to die for us to become free. That's why anybody all like, well, it was really the white people who came and freed y'all first. No, it wasn't. It was not. Anybody who knows American history knows for a fact that the Confederacy was beating the Union. The Confederacy would have beat the Union, would have kept slavery and become its own nation in this nation. The Confederacy would have done that. It would have done that if it wasn't for black soldiers joining and fighting alongside the Union and beating the Confederacy. Even Abraham Lincoln conceded to that. And he didn't like black folk, but he had to concede to the fact that if it wasn't for the black soldiers fighting in the Union, they would have lost. The Union would have lost because originally there were no black soldiers fighting in the Union. There were no black soldiers fighting in the Civil War. It was just white Union soldiers and white Confederate soldiers. And the white Confederate soldiers was whooping the Union soldiers. Damn near every battle they was beating the Union soldiers. It wasn't until black people joined the Union where the tide started to change. And after the tide started to change, then you had General Sherman. He was all like, okay, well, I see this as we're about to win this war before General Lee surrendered. That's when they came up with the deal with the 40 acres and the mule. All right, because they knew with the rate we're going, we're about to win this war. That was because of the black soldiers. They wouldn't have won if it wasn't for the black soldiers. Okay, that's why Sherman had that deal with the 40 acres and the mule thing, because that was almost like a reparation/reward for winning the Civil War. Because we really won the Civil War if we know American history. And anytime they say that, is disrespectful to the black soldiers who had to join the Civil War and die for the Civil War to be won, for Juneteenth to be a day. So anytime you sit up there and just give all of the credit to the white soldiers, it strips away from the well-deserved credit that the black soldiers barely get at all. That we barely get any credit for that whatsoever. And anytime somebody comes up here and says something like, well, it was really the white soldiers that freed you, it strips that away. It takes that away. And I'm not going to sit up here and allow that. I'm just not. I'm not going to do that. All right? I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely going to have to get a new webcam. I'm not sure what's going on with my webcam, y'all. But it is what it is. If I'm good, y'all let me know. Y'all give me a thumbs up if I'm good with my webcam. This weekend, well, not this weekend, it's Monday. I'm gonna have to give me a new webcam, maybe tomorrow or something like that. But let's continue.
Credit, but you're giving freedom. You're giving credit to the people who had you in the cotton fields. You know that, don't you? And and it explains why we're at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in the United States of America. There it is, y'all.
That explains it. Okay. You hating on Juneteenth. For just no reason whatsoever. It's absolutely no reason for you to hate on Juneteenth. Is it? Oh, you calling it cheap? It's not. I've been using it. Okay, maybe it's just overused and calling my webcam cheap. Look, okay, all right, I ain't cheap. I don't remember how much money I spent. I know it wasn't no cheap webcam. It was a really good webcam when I bought it. That's what I do know. Okay, y'all want the glasses? Let me go clean these glasses off. Lord have mercy, y'all love the glasses. Y'all really do. Okay. But as I'm doing that, what I need, we also have, because it's not just him. It's not just him who does that. You have other people who do the same exact thing. And these people, like I said, these people, old school, and they're not the majority. That's the thing. They're not the majority. Majority of they're not like this. As I was saying before, they're not like this. Like in the slave rebellion, it only takes one to sell out. So majority of folks aren't Sambos and Uncle Toms and Coons and Tap Dance. Most of them are not like that. Most of them aren't. But it only takes one, and that one can do a tremendous amount of damage. That's the problem. Because if they were insignificant, we wouldn't even be discussing them. That one can do a tremendous amount of damage. All right. Just like the Steven from Django character. All right. Bam, the glasses. Got the glasses on. Okay. Y'all won't let me take these glasses off. But let's get to the next clip. Because the next clip, I got somebody. All right. The next clip is, if you guys don't know, this is Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell. And Thomas Sowell, has multiple videos where he talks about how reparations, we shouldn't be doing no thing about reparations at all, nothing about reparations. That's him.
You can imagine somebody whose parents, great-grandparents, came here in the 1880s after the Civil War, being asked to give reparations to people. Yeah, even in the antebellum South, most whites did not have slaves. The cost of one male adult slave was more than the average white person earned all year. So they weren't all living in terror with their plantations and all the rest of it. It's insane.
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? And more importantly, that's not what anybody is arguing. I've never heard a single black person legitimately argue that all white people owned all black people. I've never heard anybody make that argument. I've in my entire life, I'm swearing to you, I've never heard anybody make that argument. Not one single time. This is a straw man argument, okay? Because you're trying to refute an argument that was not made. You're trying to refute an argument you developed yourself. You're saying that this is our argument, and you're trying to refute a point that you created because you can't refute our point. Our point was not that every single white person or even most white people owned slaves. Our argument is that slavery existed for centuries and we need reparations for that. That's the argument, that our people were forced to be chattel and create generational wealth from free labor, and that wealth benefited the entire community. It didn't just benefit the slave owners. So we're not going to play that game. We're not going to play as if, well, only the slave owners got rich. Yeah, they had the majority of the wealth, of course. I mean, they're the owners. But the entire community got that. Because you didn't have to be a slave owner to be an overseer. You didn't have to be a slave owner to be a slave catcher. You didn't have to be a slave owner to be shipping the cotton that the slave picked. You didn't have to. You didn't have to be a slave owner to be selling the clothes for the slaves. You didn't have to. You didn't have to be a slave owner to do a lot of this stuff. They still benefited, even if they didn't touch anything to do with slavery, based off of the fact that slavery fueled the economy and they benefited from the economic boost of slavery. They benefited. Everybody directly or indirectly either suffered or benefited. There is absolutely no exception. It is white or black. That's quite literally what it is. Either you benefited or you suffered from it. That is it. That is all. There is no in between. Their community benefited from it. They can't say that they suffered from it because they didn't. They benefited from it. Whether they did it because they owned one or were participating in it, or whether they did it out of proxy because they were a part of a community that benefited from it, they still benefited from it. That's it. Okay, we don't need to debate that either. And our community suffered from that. And we are still going through the sufferings of that, because the discrimination that we have faced is because we have been stigmatized and thingified. Dr. King said that in an interview with MSNBC right before they assassinated him, because that's when he was talking about he's done with all this integration stuff. He said black people, when they asked him why black people, I can't play the clip because they copyright me, but when they asked him why are European immigrants doing better than black people, and he said because black people were the only people who were slaves, and that created a social ideology that black people are things. We've been the only groups of people who've been thingified, and our blackness has been stigmatized, and it continues to be stigmatized because of slavery being the root of that. All right, so that means the black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, convict leasing, all of these things, the bombing of Wall Street, all of these things that we've been through, the mass lynchings and all of these things that we've been through, having our properties been taken with eminent domain, all of the things that we've been through, police brutality, all of the things that we've been through, all of that are byproducts of the anti-black hatred that has been embedded into the soil of the country because of slavery. So we are still dealing with its negative effects in a different form.
The other thing, I have a slight sidebar in there on the history of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The history of slavery existed all over the world for thousands of years among all sorts of people, as far back as the history of the human species goes. It's one of many evils that the left tries to localize, when in fact it is a universal evil.
So is this too strong a statement that it is?
Okay, and that nobody makes the argument that America invented slavery either. I'm not trying to posit too much. I'm trying to let y'all really kind of hear what he's saying. But nobody, I don't want it to skip past. Nobody makes the argument that slavery was some new invention, that it never existed in the world prior. Nobody is saying that. Everybody knows that there was slavery going on other parts of the world during that time, and there was slavery before that time. Okay? Nobody says white people invented slavery. Nobody says that slavery is an American only thing. Nobody says that black people are the only people in slavery. Nobody makes these arguments. What these are called, ladies and gentlemen, are straw man arguments. These are arguments that he is trying to refute, that nobody but himself is making. Because we're not making them. We're not making these arguments. We already know, yeah, slavery, yeah, no, okay, yeah, we know that. We know that. What does that got to do with America, though? See, that's my question. That what's that? Like my grandma would say, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? That's what my grandma used to say. It ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China. What does that have to do with America? How are you talking about there was slavery centuries and centuries ago before America? Okay, I mean, thanks for a history fact. What does that have to do with America today? That what you think that because of that justifies what y'all did, and the fact that you guys still are eating off of the wealth from the free labor of my people? Y'all think that because 1,000+ years ago there was slavery in another part of the world? No, and they ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
What is distinctive about the United States is not that it countenanced slavery in the 18th and 19th centuries, but that it has taken such efforts to overcome the legacy of slavery since. Is
No,
that
it's
fair?
That's part of it. But more than that, as much as slavery is repudiated around the world today, prior to the 18th century, I know of no serious effort to abolish the institution anywhere.
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 Not in Africa, not in the Arabian
not
world.
in Africa in the 21st century. When Adam Smith wrote in 1776 that the only place in the world where slavery had been abolished completely was Western Europe.
Okay. To put also into context that even though we call it all slavery, the American slavery, the slavery that the Europeans have practiced, is so uniquely monstrous, it's almost a different thing entirely. Before Europeans started doing their own unique version of slavery, now you can say slavery existed centuries before, and as true as that is, it did not exist nearly to the degree that the Europeans did. Okay, they took it and said, you know what, we're gonna just make everything times 10. We're gonna just turn all of this up. That's what they did. So yeah, you can make the argument it existed. Nobody's refuting that it existed. But did it exist to this degree? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. It didn't exist to the degree where a slave master can impregnate his slave, and then the child that she gave birth to, that child is a slave from the moment the child is able to walk. Do you understand that they had babies who couldn't really speak, but they're still picking cotton? They're wallowing around and they're carrying baskets of cotton and stuff like that, little bags of cotton outside in the sun. Y'all know how hot it is right now? Around here is like 100, is like 90 plus something degrees. It's a heat wave going on in Chicago right now. It's probably a heat wave going on in a lot of other places too. And that's why everybody's staying inside. Everybody's in AC. Everybody's eating ice cream and popsicles and drinking their water. Imagine that, in a little bitty 2-3-year-old is outside in a cotton plantation picking cotton for his slave master / father. No, that's not something that was going on everywhere else in the world now. Because they had rights, indentured servants and all that stuff. That wasn't going on where you were just because you were black, you were a slave. Now, before, slavery had a thing where it was like either religious based slavery, where you would capture somebody based off of different religious ideologies, or a regional based thing, which was more so colonization until you could integrate out of slavery. American chattel slavery, you were literally property and there was no out. It was no you can work these many years and then you can be free. Oh no, there was no out. There was no out. Now, and there were some very rare incidents. It wasn't too many, but there were rare incidents where someone could, like, if you snitched on a slave rebellion, you could earn your freedom papers and things like that, or a slave master who owned you could deem you free in very rare cases, as possible as that was. But the concept of slavery, there was no out. Not in America. There was no out. It was you live and die as my property. You can't say that existed everywhere else in the world before or even during that. Let's continue. So every time we say this, it highlights the fact that, yeah, we coming for reparations and we not slowing down, we not stopping.
Slavery was not confined to one set of races. I suspect that most of the people who were either slaves or slave owners around the world were neither white nor black. I mean, this was a universal curse of the human species.
Africa, the Middle East, Asia, slavery took place everywhere.
And it continued elsewhere long after it was abolished in the Western countries.
All right. Let me try sticking with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Shelby Steele talks about white guilt. And in Ta-Nehisi Coates, you get almost the counterpart of that, a kind of African-American claim against the white guilt. And this seems, beginning with the abolitionists, even beginning before the Civil War, you seem almost every generation, there's some expression that racism and slavery, as Shelby calls it, correctly, of course, the sin of slavery is so deeply, it's something we still live with. How do we expiate it? How do we get past it? Is there something we can do to relieve ourselves of this legacy?
No, you can't relieve yourself from the legacy. You can't disassociate yourself from slavery. That's what built the country. Let's be honest. No, that's what built the country. Now you can solve the problem. You can't erase the fact that the problem was here. The problem was here. It literally was the origin of America. But that doesn't mean that the stigma and the issue of slavery that stems from that still has to exist in this country. It doesn't. That doesn't mean that anti-black racism and anti-black discrimination must exist in America. No, we're not going to sit up here and do that. And this is one of the things that we have to establish very early on, is because we don't want it to be like, okay, well, what can we do to pretend like racism never existed? We're not going to pretend like racism never existed, no matter what y'all do. But that doesn't mean that just because we're not going to forget the origins of this country means that we're going to sit up here and allow the discrimination to just exist. No, if you want to solve the problem that still does currently exist, then you need to pay reparations. That's how you do that. That's how you do that. Because then we can look back and we can say, okay, well, we did start off and it is embedded in the country, but we grew and we solved the problem of continued racism against this group of people. Okay, so there's no longer a system of oppression against this group of people. That doesn't mean that the system never existed, but we can stop the continuation of the system. But then look at what he says.
Oh, I think you should repeat it. If you were a slave owner, I don't see any reason why you should feel.
Why is he stuttering so much? Is he related to Roland Martin? Just notice how much he was stuttering. Like that caught him way off guard.
Expiate it. How do we get past it? Is there something we can do to relieve ourselves of this legacy?
Oh, I think you should repeat it. If you were a slave owner, I don't see any reason why you should feel differently. On the other hand, I can't get over the idea of A, apologizing for what B did.
Okay.
Even when they're contemporaries, much less when one is dead and the other is alive.
All right.
I mean,
nobody's asking for an apology. Nobody's asking for that. To be very honest with you, I don't really want one. Can I be honest with you guys? I don't really want an apology. To be very honest with you, I really don't want one. I just want the check. The check will do, and then to end the rest of the little systematic things that you guys have in place that gives you guys a head start and pedestalizes you guys. And all of that, just in the anti-black racism and give me a check and I'm cool. I don't need an apology. Y'all could say I'm gonna give you a check. Listen, I would prefer them say, you know what, I'm gonna give you a check, but I'm not sorry. Okay. Yeah, give me this check then. Give me the check. I don't need you apologizing. I don't need my reparations check and a I'm sorry card or something. I don't need that. I don't need you to write no letter saying I'm sorry. You know how when you in school and you do something bad and you goofing off and you clowning in class and all that stuff, and then the teacher gives you the piece of chalk or the marker, depending on what type of board it is, and you got to go up in front of the class, or after class rather, and you got to write, "I'm sorry, I won't do it again. 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 I won't do it." You got to, y'all remember that? Come on. We all had to do that. There would be a big board where there's I would hate. Ooh. I used to have a thing with, and I'm digressing a little bit, y'all, but just lock in with me. I used to have a thing when I was a kid. I used to hate chalk. I grew out of that, but I used to hate chalk. The sound, it would drive me insane. If I knew the classroom had a chalkboard, I was on my best behavior, because I wasn't going up there doing the, I ain't gonna do it again. I ain't gonna do it again. I used to hate that. That's me personally. You know, all of that, you have to do that and apologize. I won't do it again. I don't need no white people be all like, slavery was bad. Slavery was bad. Slavery was bad. Slavery was, oh, you can keep that. I don't need that. I don't need that. You can keep that. We ain't asking you to get up on the whiteboard and write slavery was bad. Racism is evil. Racism is evil. Racism is, we don't need you to do that. We don't need you to do that. No, no, no. Just give us the check. That's all we need. That's all we need. Just give us the check. Okay. Boy, just give us the check.
Scalia, I remember was saying, you know, that I owe no man anything.
Why is he's stuttering again? Man.
That I owe no man anything because people who look like me did something that people who look like him.
Okay, so just get past it. Get to work.
Yeah.
All right.
Just get past it and get to work. That sound like he sounds like a descendant of a slave owner. He said, just get past it and get to work. Man, no, and let y'all run off with the bag. No.
Tom Sowell's view is get an education, stay married, and do your job. Roughly.
Yeah.
All right.
And see, this is why these are the types of people who will set the stage back. And these are the type of people who be all like, hold on, no, a black person said that it's not slavery that's holding you guys back. A black person said that you guys were the problem. These are the people that the dominant society puts in forth and says, okay, well, hold on, it's not race. You can't say it's a race thing because of what he is a black, just like you are a black. He is a black as well, and he is a black who said blacks are bad. You know, now I might have paid him a little bit to say that. I might have gave him some butter biscuits to say that, but he said it, so it's really not. It's really you. You guys are just bad black monkeys. That's the problem. That's why we're going through what we're going through right now, is because we have to circle the wagons. Now, I keep saying it's not the majority, but that minority, and I don't want you guys to overlook how dangerous a minority of sellouts can be, because it's never the majority. It's never even half. It's always the minority. It only takes one person to snitch on an entire slave rebellion, to where they're being watched by overseers and they're being micromanaged to where they can never rebel again. It only takes one. It only takes one bucket of water to douse out a flame that took forever to make. So this is why we're making sure we circle in our wagons on that. Since we're talking about reparations, do you guys remember this clip?
Support reparations. Why not?
Hold on, this clip right here.
You say you don't support reparations. Why not?
Not everybody suffered equally. I mean, when you go into slavery, it's much more complex than white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims. If you dissect it, you will find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves, black slaves. The question is, do the descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really...
First off, and the number he gave about black slaves owning white people. Nobody's able to find that. He literally just made that up on the spot. I did a live, like maybe a two, 3. I think this came out 2023. I did a live when this first went viral. And fact check what he said. He literally just made that number up. He just made it up. He's not able to back that up or substantiate that in any way at all.
Benefited.
Let me get to the super chat real quick before we get too far along. Shout out to the Freedmen's Network. He says, "Peace, Afro. I'm happy that somebody besides myself got on that tight suit wearing bootlick. You know what? Vince Elson." Well, thank you, brother. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, I had to get him. I had to get him. That, yeah.
More the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years.
Hold on.
Descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years. I was born in 1937 during the Depression. Everyone in my small, low-income black community, 98% of the households had a man and a woman raising children. Elderly people could walk safely in that community without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. Never.
Okay. Now, yeah, should, if you have a child, should the child be raised by the mother and the father? I don't think a black person is going to deny that that's the best option. That I don't think a black person is going to, in 2025, young, old, male, female, I don't think any black person is going to deny that that is the preferable option. However, that is not germane to reparations. That ain't got nothing to do with reparations. Notice now he's talking about something completely different. Grandparents were able to walk down the street and not have to worry about their grandchildren attacking them. Black people ain't out here jumping their grandparents. Where are you talking? What are you on? What are you on? That grandparents is scared to walk the streets because of their grandchildren. They monstrous grandchildren. Grandchildren ain't sitting up there jumping their grandparents. What are you talking about? And that don't got nothing to do with reparations either. That ain't got nothing to do with the fact that wealth was built from free labor. And they have hoarded this wealth. And they have kept black people from generating our own wealth. That's what that has to do with all of this. Well, black people, the streets was cleaner and black people had their pants pulled up. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Never heard a gunfire during that time. Never heard of a child being shot to death in the crib. But there are 50 children today who have been shot and killed in our cities. If you're talking about remedies, we've got to look beyond saying that every solution has to have a winner and a loser, that blacks can only benefit if whites lose. We have.
Now, that's very interesting. And I'm glad he said that. I am actually glad he said that, because it goes into how a lot of them think about reparations. And how a lot of them think about black progress in general. Anything to do with black people succeeding in general, whether that's reparations, what they perceive of affirmative action, what they perceive as DEI, even though we know DEI and affirmative action, that mainly goes to benefit white women and white LGBT. But what they perceive and how they frame it as white people losing, that's their dichotomy. They have this view of the world as either whites are winning or blacks are winning, and they both can't happen. If blacks start winning, whites start losing. He's saying something very important right now, very deep right now. This is how a lot of them think about reparations, which is why they consistently make these bad faith arguments, because they don't want to tell the truth. He just told the truth. They view it as, if we give them reparations, we as white people are going to lose. If black people win, we lose. That's how they honestly view it.
To be defined more than just victims of oppression. When whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best. When we were denied access to hotels, we built our own. We have to communicate to our people the history of how they achieved in the face of oppression. But if we continue to sit...
Yeah, and when black people were denied access to entire neighborhoods, we built our own. Then what happened? Don't just leave it at that. Notice how, well, black people, we had our own stuff. We did our own things. We did our own. Then what happened? You're skipping over a big part of history. Yeah, because you probably don't want to mention the fact that they burned it down, that they bombed it, or that they flooded it, or that the government took it with eminent domain, or the government ran highways through it. And the government is still stealing property. It's still taking stuff away. That's why you got Miss Jackson going off on Brandon Johnson all the time, because Brandon Johnson is allowing the government to do that. Okay, that stuff is still going on. So you can't. Oh, black people, we had our own stuff. Oh, and then what happened? The always mention every single time they say, "Well, we had our own stuff," and then what happened? We didn't just say, you know what, we don't want our own stuff no more. And hold on, let's hold on. Let me go into this. Anytime they say that, we have to understand the complex history and all of the factors that went into us not having it anymore. Yes, integration ultimately was the wrong direction. And it was a detrimental direction for us to go down. We all acknowledge that. In 2025, we can pretty much all acknowledge that integration was the wrong direction. Even Dr. King acknowledged in the very short time that we did have integration, that integration was the wrong direction. And he called it out himself. Even though he was one of the ones who was sitting up there promoting integration, the second he saw how it was going left, he was all like, hey, damn, this is wrong. So even Dr. King called out integration. So we know integration was wrong, but we're not going to sit up here and be all like, well, black people we abandoned everything that we had to get into integration, because that's not telling the history accurately. There were black people who preferred the white restaurant over the black one, who preferred the white school over the black one, who preferred the white store or whatever the case is over the black one. There were, yes, let's tell the truth. There were also black people who didn't. Many black people who didn't. Many black people who preferred our own restaurants and our own stores and our own schools and our own neighborhoods and our own businesses. And then what happened with them? The government systematically put things in place to take those properties away, to make it difficult, gentrify black people out of those properties. And they stripped black people of the ownership that a lot of black people wanted to maintain. Every black person wasn't sitting up there trying to give away what they have worked their entire life to own or had been passed down to them. Even today, every black person is not trying to do that. But now it's an uphill battle because the government is systemically stripping away the ownership of everything that is black. All right. So we can't be all like, well, we had it then and then we fumbled the bag. No, we didn't just fumble the bag. There were some black people who went in the wrong direction. Of course, we just admitted that. But also it was a system that stripped us away, that systemically started stripping us away, then putting drugs in the community to damage the community and all of this stuff. They deliberately did this to strip us away from the ownership. All right. So let's not put all the blame on just people wanting to integrate.
Sit back and say all of the challenges that we face in out of wedlock births of violence, that somehow the control of that is in the hands of white America. And therefore, until white people change, there's nothing that we can do. This sets up a terrible situation for this nation. The big crisis facing America is not racial. It is a moral and spiritual freefall that is consuming our children. The highest death rate among black families is homicide. Among Silicon Valley, the highest level of suicide, 6 times the national average. In Appalachia, there are prescription drugs. And so if we are to address this crisis that is causing our children to lack a sense of personal responsibility or value for their own life, they will take their own life or take someone else's. So in order to address that, we must come together and look beyond race and realize America is drowning because it's in a moral and spiritual freefall. None of us should be defined by.
Well, here's the thing. America is drowning because America refuses to get rid of the original sin, the whole immoral and spiritual freefall. Let's have that conversation for a little bit. Let's talk about that for a little bit. The reason that we're in this crisis where you got fentanyl all over the place and opioids and meth and all of that stuff, and you got crazy amounts of disproportionate depression and all of that stuff, is because America has internal chaos. And the internal chaos is because the original sin of the country has never been cured. It's just been redeveloped, repackaged, named, and has been maintained. This virus has been maintained and is starting to spread throughout the entire body. That's the reason why you want to talk about some type of spiritual crisis that the country is having. You can't talk about that until you talk about the original problem. All of these other issues that the country is going through and all of the other issues that the country causes other groups of people, that is because of the original issue. You cannot fix these other issues until you go to the center, until you go to the first seed, and that is racism. That is slavery. That is the origin of this country. Nothing else can be fixed before that. All of these other things is a byproduct of that. All of the other evil and all of the other disasters and all of the other problems of America is a byproduct of that evil being embedded in this country, that this country today, most of the people, the non-FBA people, refuses to fix because they see it as, if you win, we lose. So we can't fix this. We got to find another way, and there is no other way. There is no other way. That is the original problem. So yeah, we got mass depression. We have people taking their own life. You have people drugged out all over the place, and people don't know what to do. That's because you guys have allowed a country to be in. You've allowed an environment to be created because the soil of the country is embedded with hatred of the founders of it, the foundation of it. And you've allowed that and done everything in your power to maintain that. And as you keep doing that, because you don't want to cure the virus, you want to get rid of certain symptoms when it comes to certain parts. Okay? You want to have a whole body ache, but you just don't want your left arm to feel it. No. If your body is aching, the whole body is going to feel it. If your body has the flu, the whole body has to feel it now. But you don't want to get rid of the flu. You just want the flu to be maintained in this certain part of the body. No, that's not how that's going to work. That's not how that is going to work.
The worst of what we were in the past, but we should be defined by what we want to become in the future, and that people are motivated to change when you give them a vision of victories that are possible, not constantly reminding them of injuries to be avoided.
I think it's not either or.
Now, let me get to the super chats real quick, because I did like actually what she had to say in response. Shout out to my brother William. My brother William says, make sure these coons get a copy of this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to make them remember what they say. We gonna make sure they remember what they say. We always gonna hold people to their word. They were an impediment to us getting reparations. We gonna make sure they are stuck to that. All right. Denise, shout out to my sister Nisi, says, repping season is here, America. It is. It is. It's time for the cure. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. It's time for the cure. All right. And the cure is reparations. It's nothing else. There's no substitute. You can't get rid of some symptoms without the other symptoms. And the thing is that the longer it persists, the worse it's going to get. You can't fix any of the other problems until you get to the root of the issue. That's like you wanting to fix some of the symptoms of a cancer without curing the cancer. When a body has cancer, the body goes through different symptoms. You can't say, okay, well, I just want to fix this problem of the cancer and not the cancer. It doesn't work that way. The body's not going to work that way. The problems are only going to get worse. The problems are only going to spread. Then there's going to be more problems and more problems and more problems. And the reason is because the body has cancer. And until you cure that cancer, it's only going to get worse. You can't cure a symptom and think it's going to stay that way.
I think it's and. I think we can do both.
Let me play back to what she had to say in response.
I think it's not either or. I think it's and. I think we can do both. We cannot ignore the reality of systemic racism and how it's affected the Black community. You can't just be like, we need to just focus on our own issues. The violence is happening in the Black community. It's the Black people's fault, and we need to focus on that. Actually, it's a lot of things. So we can't just separate them and be like, just focus on yourselves, don't worry about racism. It's finding us. It finds us wherever we go. It's not our fault, right? So what you're saying is we need to focus our issues on ourselves and not wait for this. No, we can do both. We can get reparations and we can work on issues within our community as we have always been doing. But we need to start removing the barriers that are there that shouldn't be there.
Do you have a...
All right, then. Yeah. The whole thing is and this goes to, and I like she said that, because this goes to a lot of the people who are all like, what we need to do is we need to stop focusing on the government to save us, and we need to focus on ourselves, and we need to focus on building our own community, and we need to focus on all of this stuff. Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to deny that. I don't think any Black person who really wants the best for the community is going to say there's nothing that we can do to improve the community. I've never heard of a Black person who sit up there and says there's absolutely nothing we can do, nothing we can teach the kids, nothing at all. The only solution, the only savior is the government. No. But we're not going to ignore or dismiss or belittle the hand that the government does play, because we were actually starting to recover. And every single time we start to recover, here comes a bomb. Okay? Here comes a flood of water. Here comes an angry mob that the government doesn't do anything about. Here comes eminent domain. Here comes a highway. That's what happens. All right? So we're not going to sit up here and deny that. And yeah, we can have both. The government owes us. We're not going to deny that, but y'all like, well, Black people, we need to focus more on marriage. Okay, well, we can get married and paid at the same time. We're not going to sit up there and act like we can only do one. And the reason they bring this up is not in really good faith. The reason they bring this up is to take the pressure and the blame off of the dominant society. Not even really the government, but the dominant society in general. Say, well, it's not racism. It's the fact that y'all have all these abortions. That's the real reason. No. Come on now. Talk about we need to have kids as true as all that fixing our problems is, that does not dismiss the fact that we still can do and we still need to do the right thing, and that's get our reparations. Shout out to, let me get a super chat from the Gorilla. I think it's pronounced like that. He says, continue to stay on Cole family. 19-year-old FBA from Atlanta. Shout out I love it when we got the youth in here. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you very much. 19. Shout out to Atlanta. Now we got more, y'all. Y'all look at this. And this is just, Y'all know we can't talk about the old Masa lovers without talking about this guy. Yep. Jesse Lee Peterson. Oh, yep. Jesse Lee Peterson. Y'all know we got to talk about Jesse. Y'all know we had to do it.
And I've said over and over again, I would ask experts and non-experts, tell me one thing that most black people have done, politicians, entertainers, or whomever, one thing that they have done to make America better, that will enhance the lives of America. Just name me one thing. I ask only for one thing that majority of blacks have done to make America better. And not one person has ever been able to give me one example of the good. Now it's so bad.
Okay. This man, and he believe. I want you to understand. And it's hard to hear him because he's such a mush mouth. I mean, he sounds like a damn a house nigga from the plantation. I'm just gonna be very honest. Come on, we all know it. Name one thing a lot of people did to make anything better. This man sounds like he was the cast of Uncle Ruckus, the original cast of Uncle Ruckus. Name what? First off, dude, we built the country. There wouldn't be a constitution, period, if it wasn't for black people. Not the first amendment, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and we wouldn't have none of that if it wasn't for foundational black Americans. Crispus Attucks was the first person to really get it popping with the Revolutionary War. We wouldn't have won the Civil War and then had the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment if it wasn't for foundational black Americans winning that. And then if it wasn't for the civil rights movement and all of the activists and all of the fighters and leaders at the time fighting for us to get civil rights, we wouldn't have anything. Not only would we not have had anything, nobody else in this country would have had anything. Do you understand that the civil rights movement, that also gave civil rights, and that was the standard and the blueprint of civil rights for everywhere else in the world? Everywhere else in the world looks at our civil rights and what we fought for as far as democracy and fairness of civil rights, and everybody else in the world has copied that playbook and that blueprint. He said, what have we done? What have we not? What has anybody done? I challenge what anybody has done. If you want to challenge what we've done, I say, damn it, let's go bar for bar with anybody. No, come on, let's go bar for bar. Who has done more than what we have done to benefit anything, to save anybody? I see everybody else taking. I see everybody else destroying. I see everybody else stealing. I don't see anybody else creating anything, bringing any positivity, making anything new, inventions and music and culture and all in art. I don't see anybody else doing anything. Who are you comparing us to? Why are you saying we ain't done nothing positive? Who are you comparing us to? Because I know you ain't gonna be able to do it because there's nobody, but I would love to hear how other groups of people are bringing more positivity to the world than we are. That we have and we are today still, okay? Because I see a whole bunch of Hispanics, I see a whole bunch of Palestinians, I see a whole bunch of Iranians, I see a whole bunch of them throwing up a black fist. That's what I do see. Every time they have an issue, here comes the black fist, and they sit up there acting like they march with Dr. King. That's what I do see. I see them still copying us. When anytime they have a problem, they sit up there and act like they're black. That's what I do see today. Compare us? Don't know, hell no. And we're not gonna sit up there and let that disrespect slide either.
That not all, of course, but black people started promoting, and they're putting it in the school books. They're promoting evil as good because they have nothing good to teach or to promote or to say this is good. And so now they are pushing evil and calling it good because they have nothing else to show. Isn't that a sad way to live? They are now putting this in school books. They are putting evil they're putting drug addicts, allegedly drug addicts, and people who hate America, hate the police, into the school books, and they're calling this a good example. And you send your children to the schoolhouse, and they read this stuff. They put up statues of people like George Floyd and others who have done nothing good at all. And now they'll put it in the school book.
First off, and when you say they, we never put no statue of George Floyd up nowhere. Don't put that on the community. That's them damn DNC. Them DNC politicians and all of that. That's the DNC that did that. We didn't do that. And nobody today, and sit up there, and I'm not going to sit up here and dismiss what happened to George Floyd at all. What happened to George Floyd was the reason I started the channel in the first place. The very first video I made was because of the environment that happened right after George Floyd. Because of that, all right? Because of what the injustice and the evil that happened to him. That's why I made my first video, and that's why I started the whole thing on YouTube. All right. Now, I was doing activism stuff before that, though. But the reason I started on YouTube at that moment was because of the situation with George Floyd. But I've never said that George Floyd was some type of hero or icon. And that was never the point. The point was not that George Floyd was a role model. The point was that George Floyd was a victim of racism and white supremacy. That was the point. We don't have to sit up there and praise him like he's some type of hero. Nobody ever made that argument. And nobody has asked for a George Floyd statue. Nobody asked for that. That's what the DNC did because they believe in empty symbolism. Because instead of changing the way police operate, they're going to sit up there and memorialize all of the victims of police. So instead of changing how police operate and punishing the police the way they should, they say, you know what, let's put a George Floyd statue up there. Okay, let's put a Breonna Taylor statue up there. Okay, let's put that's what they do. Let's put a Mike Brown statue up here. Okay, let's put a Tamir Rice statue up here. But changing the police? No. Punishing the police? No. We're never gonna do that. But we will put a George Floyd statue on that bench right there, and you can sit next to George Floyd. No, yeah. See, we're not asking for that, so you can't blame that on the community. You're only doing that because you're so out of touch. You're so out of touch. That's why. And that's that damn GOP talking point.
I'm mad and all that. Isn't that a shame that around the world, and I was really wondering about this over the weekend, and I know what it is, but what's going on, that around the world, black people have nothing good to show. When it's controlled by majority blacks or anything in other countries, nothing good. Isn't that like interesting? They only have evil and no good. In 12 News, social study textbooks recently appeared at the Scottsdale Unified School District have some parents furious. At the latest governor board meeting, several spoke out against a new U.S. history book textbook that includes topics like the Black Lives Matter protest, the death of George Floyd, and former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick taking a knee to protest police violence. But this is what black people want to put in a school book. All evil, and they're calling it good. Watch this from...
Oh, Lord. I'm talking, it just is, it's so pathetic. It is. It's so pathetic, y'all. And y'all brace yourselves. I'm saying. Shout out to my good brother Cyberdon. He says, our youth is pure fire. Hey, thank you, brother. And I appreciate your support. I really do. It means a lot, and it does help a lot. Especially considering I got to get a new webcam, apparently. But thank you very much. And yeah, we own it. We own it tonight. It says, Freedom Network says, Afro, how many coon did you catch today? I caught a few, and we still got a couple more, y'all. We still got some more. Oh, Lord. Yeah, we do. And the reason why I don't like the old ones is because what the old ones do is the old ones put the stepping stone. The old ones give the stepping stone for the young ones. And then the young sellouts, the young Masa lovers, they follow in the path of the older ones, like this clip right here. And we discussed these two mulatto twins, the Hodge twins. And the Hodge twins had a damn interview with Jesse Lee Peterson. So you got the old sellouts and the young sellouts all together, just selling out and talking about how much they hate black people.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the problem that black people are having is, do you think that's systemic? I don't think it's like racism. I think it's the other side, forcing their hand. I think that culture's been. I think black people have been conditioned to think this way, and and this way that they're being taught is the wrong way.
Yeah. Number one, the sins of the parents are being passed down to the generations after generation. That anger, no unity anymore. And then you're right; they're being used by the government. They're being used by their black leaders. They're being used by their so-called counselors and professionals. They're really using black people for personal gain.
Yeah, that's why when they see us, they say we're sellouts.
Right.
Because we're not doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Hey,
a
lot of black people live in ghettos, poverty. A lot of blacks think that the reason why there's neighborhoods is all ghettos because there was fed guns and drugs, and the white man dropped it off there, and that's why they live in ghettos.
Yeah.
I was like, well, even if that's true, it doesn't mean you have to take the guns and shoot your brother or your sister or take these drugs.
That's
you
right.
still have a decision over your own fate. Why is everything got to be the white man's fate?
Even if that's true, because it's up for debate. How did the guns get in the community? It might have fell from the sky. I don't know. How did crack get in the community? It might have grew out the ground. Even though the ingredients to make crack cocaine doesn't exist in America, it literally has to be shipped from ingredients outside of America and bought into America. Because America, the country, doesn't naturally produce the ingredients to make these drugs, so that by definition means that these drugs had to come from outside of the America. So the only logical conclusion was that somebody went from outside of America and bought the drugs and then bought them back and then put them in the community. It's the only way that could have happened. But he says if. Because they might have it started just raining big kilos of crack one day in the hood exclusively. Okay. All right. Only in the hood was this the big crack cloud, and it just started raining crack and pistols. Okay. All right. I suppose. But then he says, if the United States government put drugs in a community of their own citizens and put firearms in a community of their own citizens, you're saying it's the citizens' fault instead of the government? So it's not the FBI, it's not the CIA, it's not their fault, it's not the government's fault for putting the drugs in there, it's your fault. It's your fault for taking them. Okay. If your parents put poison in your food, it's not their fault for putting poison in your food. It's your fault for eating it because they didn't force it down your throat. You ate it. They didn't make you eat it. They just put it there and you ate it. Okay. It's not there. It's not. And notice that everything we do. Well, I mean, even if that's true, why did you do that? No. Why did they do that? Because if you say, even hypothetically, if it's true, why did they do that? We're not gonna overlook the wrong they did to put the finger on us. No. Why would they do such a thing to their own citizens? Oh, but you don't want to have that conversation. You don't want to have that conversation.
interviewed so many blacks and they said that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the white man brought the drug into the neighborhood. So I'm like, did they make you take the drug?
Did they make you shoot that dude?
Right. Let's say that they brought it. It's not true, but let's say that the white people brought
It is true. He says it's not true.
the drug.
Right.
They didn't tie you down and make you take the drug.
Right.
You had to go buy the drugs.
He is. I don't know I don't know if something happened to him. He is such a mush mouth. He cannot speak articulately at all.
You had to go home and take the drug. And they don't seem to understand that though.
Yeah.
They
claim everything bad that's happened to black folks is because of white folks.
Because of the white man.
Yeah.
That's a sad way to live, right?
Yeah.
What a sad way to live. They're blaming everything on
the country
everybody.
going while black people chasing them trying.
Now he plays an interview he did, and in his own interview, he pretty much gets checked in his own interview. See, Jesse Lee Peterson, he's not really that smart. He's not smart at all. I said really that smart. He's not smart at all, which is why in every interview, he pretty much gets debunked in his own interviews that he posts on his own YouTube channel. Look at this.
Trying to get it and destroying it.
Destroying what?
They're blaming everything on
the country
everybody.
going while black people chasing them trying to get it and destroying it.
Destroying what?
Everything they touch.
I'm black. I don't destroy everything I touch.
You may be one black that don't be, but most blacks do.
No, most blacks do what?
Destroy.
Prove that.
Who killed blacks, other blacks the most?
Blacks. And who kills other whites the most?
Who turned nice
No.
Who turned nice neighborhood? I'm giving you the proof.
But who kills other whites the
nice
most?
neighborhoods
But that's
into
intellectually
hoods?
dishonest. That's intellectually.
Notice now he's skipping a question. Everything blacks touch, we destroy. Okay, who kills blacks the most? Okay. Who kills whites the most? And you're not going to sit up here and say everything white people touch, they destroy, which you could really make that argument. But you're not going to say that. But everything black people touch, we destroy. But you're not going to hold that same standard. You lost in your own debate, your own question.
Turned nice neighborhoods into hoods.
To be honest, the government did. Look at Cabrini Green. Look at the systemic issues that they have created, the environment that they have created that created a hood in the first place.
Bad people.
Who? Now you change it.
No.
Who turned nice neighborhoods into hoods?
Hood people.
Who are those hood people?
Hoodlums.
I'm giving you a hint.
It's a skin color, but what's the hint there? Which people are those?
Who turned nice neighborhoods into hoods? Gentrification, redlining, systemic disenfranchisement, the government, all of that stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I remember when I first.
He literally, and they laughing like he didn't get clowned in his own interview. That's how little brain cells that they have. They can't even process like, hey, that was an embarrassing clip. We shouldn't play this clip. But they all giggling like they got him.
I moved to LA. I lived in South Central LA, and over there in Crenshaw and Slauson area, and it was beautiful. There were mostly white people on my street that I lived on. The whole area was nice. Crenshaw High School, Manuel, really nice. And then the white people started to move out because the blacks were moving in, and
They said it's white flight.
Right, that's what they call it, and it turned into a ghetto overnight.
Right.
Really, it's just everything changed. The people didn't cut their grass, they didn't paint their homes. Crime came in. I saw that happen myself. I had never seen anything like that.
Right.
And then I remember going to Houston, Texas once to do a talk. And they took me on a little tour, and they took me to a black neighborhood that used to be white and beautiful at one time. And black people just sitting on the porch.
My mama used to do that. Go outside, just sit on the porch.
The neighborhood falling apart.
Yeah.
And they were sitting on the porch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood's falling apart. And none of this stuff is ever to be blamed on the people who are in charge. None of this stuff is ever to be blamed on the mayor. None of this stuff is ever to be blamed on the governor. None of this stuff is ever to be blamed on the government. None of this stuff is ever to be blamed on the dominant society. None of it. None of it is ever to be blamed on them. It's only to be blamed on us. If they put crack, they literally said, if they put crack and guns in your community, it's still all your fault for it. It don't matter. It's all your fault. It still doesn't matter. Now, they're not going to say that when it comes to the white community. No, they're not going to say that. Because when they have it bad, it's because somebody else did it to them. It's not their fault. And problems like this, and when you have people who get, because of the dominant society promoting them and giving them, you know, a platform and stuff like that for selling out and being anti-black, that becomes a thing where everybody has a dollar sign over their head like, oh, I can make some money off of this. So now we got copycats of different tethers and copycats of different Sambos. Let me show you this copy, and I've seen her before, but let me show you this lady. And it's so unfortunate because they get younger and younger and younger.
Our children.
Now you got a damn copycat of Candace Owens out here, who the only thing she has to say is how bad, quote unquote, black people are. That's the only thing she thinks about. Only thing she says, and she's trying to be a younger version of Candace Owens. She sees the type of platform Candace Owens is able to get off of her anti-black racism. Okay, now y'all might ask, what is her lineage? To be honest with you, I don't know what her lineage is. I don't know. That forehead, though, that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, that forehead, that's a really big forehead. I mean, it's in them. That's the hairline starting in the middle of the head. That's, I mean, God, oh my God, wear a hat. You get the light shining. It's blinding me. It's reflecting off the light, off the head. The forehead is just too much. I mean, I don't know what lineage. I'm just saying. I thought you was bald there for a second. I had to look. But I don't know. But let's listen to what she had to say.
That kill each other and abort our babies. We're the ones that sell dysfunction and that kill each other and abort our babies. We're the ones that sell dysfunction and poison to our own people, to our children. We don't love each other, we don't protect each other, and we damn sure do not trust each other. We are the foot soldiers for white supremacy, and we don't.
No. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Because for the most part, black people do have at least a basic bottom line level of trust of other black people. All it is, black people don't trust each other. Well, you shouldn't trust anybody you don't know, just in general. I mean, that's just society. Whether you're black, white, male, female, old, young, don't matter. You just shouldn't go around having this blatant trust of everybody. Of course, you don't know somebody. You shouldn't just have this trust as if you do. And that doesn't mean you distrust them, like you think that they're suspicious unless you know that. There is a default level, though, of giving people the benefit of the doubt and trusting the community. But when you say as far as trusting the community, black people, for the most part, we do kind of trust other black people. We do kind of trust. That's why when you go to a job, or you go to a new job and you see other black people working a job, you kind of get a little bit like at ease, because we as foundational black Americans, I can speak for us in our culture. We have a bottom line trust of the community, just not every single black person, but of the community in general, to know that for the most part, there's a default level of being on code that the community has. Okay. Everybody don't have it, but for the most part, there is a default level of if you're in a new job or a new place, a new neighborhood, and you see the black person, you know more than likely that black person gonna kind of, make sure you good. Okay, if a black person come to the job, and you've been working there for a while, you already know, okay, I got to make sure this, he good or she good. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of, it's kind of like a cultural default thing. You know what I'm saying? So black people, they don't trust other black people. Not really, to be honest. We kind of do. For the most part. And I'm not saying you should trust everybody with everything. Of course, there are levels to trust. Everybody should have a level to trust. You can't just trust a stranger. That, you know, of course, don't matter if they black or white or whatever. But for the community, for the most part, yeah, no. The community, there's trust in the community. Go back a little bit.
We are the foot soldiers for white supremacy, and we don't even realize it. And you guys want to argue with me when I say we would die without white people. And it's really sad because we need them.
We would die without white people. Huh? Man, we had to win every single war they started. Who taught them how to bathe? They still don't even do that much. We the ones taught them they needed to use soap. They still don't even do that much. What are you talking about, huh?
For basic survival. Black America.
Basic survival? Y'all have flies and bugs all up in your hair and all that stuff. I'm not saying y'all don't right now, but y'all really had that back in the day. What? This is this Masa lover, Zaddy loving. Oh my God, Zaddy is the. Oh, come on.
Die without white people. And it's really sad because we need them for basic survival. Black America don't build any infrastructure. We don't produce anything. We don't own anything. We don't know how to grow our own food. We don't
build any infrastructure. Where did the White House come from? Huh? Yeah. See, when they say black people don't build no infrastructure, what infrastructure was built without black people? Anytime somebody say black people don't build no infrastructure, name me something that was built in this country without black people. Because you can't name the White House, you can't name Congress, you can't name Wall Street, you can't name most of these neighborhoods, you can't name the railroads, you can't name what can you name that was built without black people?
Control any transportation, any energy. Like, is this even a conversation that needs to be had? We are fully plugged into systems that is controlled by white people. And if most of those systems disappear today, most of us probably wouldn't survive a week. And quite frankly, we'd probably kill each other in the process. Other races come into our communities and set up shop because we don't. We don't serve ourselves. We don't circulate our dollar. We just consume and blame. And the reason why slaves were able to rebuild so quickly after slavery was because they had skill sets. They knew how to farm, they knew how to sew, and they knew how to build infrastructure. You guys have no skill sets. A lot of us are dependent on.
Who don't got no skills? Who don't have no skills? Anytime they say that, what skills do other people have that we don't have today? What do other people in today? Now, of course, there are black people who, we've been kept out of certain markets strategically. We've been strategically kept out of certain markets. But she says, you guys, distancing herself from the community, and it's very important. But what do other people know how to do that black people today just don't know how to do? We got black doctors, lawyers, judges, engineers, scientists. What do other people know how to do that we don't know how to do? Dentists. I mean, I can go all. There's not a single field where there is no black people in there. As far as computer science, IT, as far as in the medical field, as far as in the legal field, as far as there's nothing that black people ain't in. It ain't been doing. Nothing. Let me get some of the super chats real quick before we get too far along. Okay. Shout out to William. He says, Messy Jesse Peterson sounds drunk and sweet with a side of constipation. He does. He sounds like he got a lot going on and none of it is good. He always does. It sounds like a lot of bad stuff going on with him. Okay. Freeman's Network again says Boy, oh boy, you sure got a lot of coon traps. And oh yeah, I do. I had to pull them, and we still got some more. We still got some more, brother. We still do. So yeah, I had to get them tonight. I had to. And then he says, "Don't Jesse love Bussy?" That was a rumor, and it was a lot of evidence to kind of back that up. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was that he played for the other team, if you know what I mean. Fana Faye says people found another Candace copycat on TT. TT, what does that mean? Q period adopted by white people. I'm not. Maybe that's a channel or something like that. Continues to say, good show tonight. By the way, the twins were under Crowder at one point in his little network. I'm not surprised because they sound exactly like they had a white zaddy, a white lord, a white overseer, a white master, a Masa that taught them all of the stuff that they know today. Oh, TikTok. That's what it means. And I can't believe it. Okay. On TikTok. Yeah, she is on TikTok. I can't believe I could not figure out what that means. I feel old now. Lord have mercy. TikTok. Okay. I feel old. I can't believe it. But let's get back to the video, y'all. Let's get back to it.
Skill sets. A lot of us are dependent on whiteness to survive, and that's why bringing up something from 100 years ago is completely irrelevant. Our ancestors were resilient. They were builders. They provided benefit to society, unlike some people. So,
like you,
y'all the main one that is screaming about white supremacy, yet y'all the same people that is practicing it. You inherited a white supremacist mindset, and you might not be wearing white hoods, but you damn sure are wearing black hoodies. Real power starts with accountability. You want change, it's time to start building, start producing, and start to protect our own people.
Yeah, and we're going to get that from you? You just said we couldn't survive without white people. What are we going to learn from you? This Candace Owens wannabe. There's always some new generation coming from TikTok. There's always some new generation folk coming from TikTok who think that they can blow themselves up by being an anti-black conservative. And when they talk about conservative, most of their content is anti-black. Most of their content is something that they know white people are going to love. Like, oh my God, I love her. She's a black girl and she's telling the truth against these woke blacks. I love her so much. I love her. Oh my goodness. Tell them their culture is trash. And a black. She's a black. She's a black just like you are black. She's a black and she said the same thing. Oh, she's so great. Then you got another one. Oh, Lord. Here you got another one. Here, look at this dude. And I made a video about him and it blew up on TikTok. This guy right here. He made this video about Juneteenth.
Fuck Juneteenth. It's been 159 years since the abolition of slavery, and black people are in a far worse position.
So I can't. I didn't even want to do that. I didn't even want to stop it. But, dude, what is wrong with your face? Like, why is your face so long? Normally they say something about the forehead and everything like that, but his ears are sticking out like he's an elf. What's going on? His head looks short. Like it looked like somebody just put here's what it looked like. It looked like somebody put their hand on it, just pressed down real hard. That's what his head looks like. It looked like somebody like pressed, and then it looked like somebody boxed it in. It looked like somebody like took his forehead and just like squeezed the middle of his forehead or whatever, and they had their hands right here, so the ears stick out. So look at how imagine if, and I come on now, imagine if my ears was like this, y'all. Y'all probably wouldn't even be watching. Imagine if my ears was like this. Oh my God, look, we can't even get to the video. You just look so weird. And why your mustache look like that, dude? Oh. Sometimes you just cut it off. Everybody don't need facial. I know it's an age where everybody wants some cool facial hair and all that stuff. Everybody wants facial. Everybody can't have facial hair. Everybody can't have facial hair. This dude looked like a cartoon. He looked like a cartoon. Everybody, it's not for everybody. You can't do that. You can't. Come on now. You look like a kid drew you. Hold on. There was actually one cartoon. Now I think about it. Hold on. There was one cartoon that he looked like. It came out a couple years ago. Oh no. Why am I going to do this? But I'm going to do it. I am going to do this. Okay, so there was a cartoon where Jamie Foxx, a few years ago, Jamie Foxx played this dude in the cartoon. And I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to show y'all the picture of the dude. Y'all going to crack up. Y'all going to laugh when y'all see this, okay? Y'all going to crack up. Let me pull this picture up real quick. Hold on. This dude looked like... Oh, Lord, okay. Why the hell is this doing this? Okay. Anyway. This dude quite literally looked like this. Okay, now you sitting up there. Now you don't want to work. Computer. Hold on. If I press this one more time and it don't. Okay. Share screen. Look at this. Do y'all remember this? Maybe y'all didn't see this cartoon. Do y'all remember this cartoon? This is what this dude looked like. He looked like this. I'm not lying to you. This is what this man looks like. He looks like this. When I first saw him, I was like, how did this man look like a cartoon? He does. I think they made the cartoon based off of him. I think they made the cartoon based off of him. Afro, why you being so petty? I just have to. I can't not do that. It's not just one thing. Hold on. Let me show you. Yeah, he looked like a cartoon. His head just don't look like a normal person. He don't look like he has a normal person head. Let's compare it again. Hold on. We're going to take this back. We're going to take it back and we're going to show you. Look, y'all not going to tell me I'm tripping. Y'all not going to tell me he don't look the same. You're not going to tell me they didn't base the cartoon off this man. You're not going to tell me he wasn't walking across the street and somebody says, that looks like a perfect cartoon head. Oh, I know he got made fun of. Oh, I know he did. Oh, I know he did. Oh, my God. All he need is the hat. That's all he need. All he need is the hat. You can't tell. We just got to do it one more time. Why? It's petty. We just got to do it. I'm sorry. We just got to do it. We still got to do it. We still got to do it. I know it's petty. I know it is. But we still got to do it. Don't matter. We still got to do it. Afro, why are you doing this to this man? I have to. I just hold on. Hold on. He looking like this. Oh, okay. That's doing too much. Okay, come on. Oh my God. And these are the people. This is him in real life. With the mustache and everything. Now, if I look like that, I'd probably be mad too. But let's get back serious, okay? Okay? Y'all gotta forgive me. Sometimes when I see a joke, I just gotta tell it. I can't help myself sometimes. I got to do it. It's something in my DNA where if I see it, I can't resist the temptation to clown somebody. I can't. I'm trying, but I can't do it. But let's get back to business. Let's get back to what he had to say. Let's get back to what this cartoon man had to say. I want y'all in the chat room, give me a good nickname for this dude. What do you think his cartoon name should be? What do y'all think this man's cartoon name should be? But let's get back to it. Oh, I had to make it bigger so y'all can see the full length of the head.
It's been 159 years since the abolition of slavery, and black people are in a far worse position, far worse state than they were then. If anything, slavery was far better than what we're dealing with today. Black people put themselves in a mental slavery. We constantly tell ourselves that there's nothing we can do simply because we're black. Nothing that we can achieve because we're black.
Okay, in the talking point, we constantly tell ourselves there's nothing we can do because we black. Black people don't say that. Anytime black people call out racism, it's always, well, y'all just feel like there's nothing y'all can do because of racism. No. But yeah, we can call out racism. So just acknowledging the existence of racism doesn't mean that we're helpless. There were black people who were during the time of slavery who are not helpless. We're not saying that we're absolutely helpless and we're just destined to be at the bottom of the barrel, but we're not going to ignore that racism is a problem. We're not going to ignore that. You had rich black people during the times of slavery. They weren't helpless. We were never helpless, but that don't mean we're going, oh, black people, y'all act like there's just nothing you can do. No. They make it seem like we completely have to ignore racism in order to thrive. No, we don't. No, we don't. Now, he probably can't comprehend that because his head is like this. Now, if his head is like this, that means his brain is probably like that. That's what that means.
Constantly lie to each other and say that the reason for why we can't do things is because of white supremacy or some stupid fucking shit as such. The reason for why nothing works within the black community is because we don't want to free ourselves from this world of believing that we can achieve nothing and everything and everyone is holding us back. The only people holding us back is ourselves because we're in this constant state of thinking that everything is against us and everyone is against us. We can't take any fucking criticism. We don't know how to manage things. We don't know how to build things on our own. We don't know how to do business amongst each other, amongst other people. We're not unified. What fucking unity is there among black people? The only time black people have any kind of fucking unity is when some drug dealer rapper gets shot or dumb fucking holidays like this Juneteenth.
Notice he can't tell us why. All of this anger towards Juneteenth, and you can't tell us why Juneteenth is bad. Well, black people can't unify. In comparison to who? Who else unifies? Who else unifies? Okay. Somebody in the chat room, Rashan, he says, hey, yo, Tariq Nasheed exposed that dude as a tether. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. That make a lot of sense. It do. It make a lot of sense. Because, and the thing is that normally tethers got like super big foreheads, but this dude, he has a very, I mean, he got the forehead with the ear. It's like, it's not his forehead, it's just the whole head. The whole head is in this very like oval shape. It is. It's in a, it looks like a egg with some pointy ears sticking out with a bad haircut. That's what his head looks like. His head looks like a football with a mustache. That's what his head looks like. If you have a football facing one way, you know, like you're about to throw the football, his head looks like a football. I believe it. That's not no FBA head. No. His head, somebody say aliens from the alien. Oh, why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? His head do look like aliens. Y'all seen that movie Alien? You know how aliens be having that long. Now see, I gotta look it up. See what y'all have me be doing. We trying to stay focused, and y'all got me looking up aliens. Okay, but we got to show you for everybody who didn't know. Everybody who didn't know, we got to do it. Okay, just for research purposes. Okay, for research purposes. Okay, that's the only reason. Okay, let me show you guys a picture of the alien. This is what the alien looked like. Hold on. Pull this up real quick, okay? You see how long the alien's head is? You see that? See that's why his head. See, normal human beings don't have heads that look like that. They don't. It looked like he got an alien head. It's just weirdly shaped. It's a weird shaped head. And then other aliens, the weird shaped head. It looked like a football. We don't have football faces. A face that looked like a football. We just don't. With some pointy ears and a crazy mustache. It looked like he was made in like a lab or something like that, and they kind of messed it up. That's what it looked like. You know how like when you baking a cake or a cookie and you might leave it in there too long, or you might not put enough water or flour or whatever the case is, and then the cake is all, you know, dilapidated and all uneven and all that. That's what it looked like. That's what his head looked like. It looked like, I don't know what his mama was on. I ain't trying to make fun of his mama, but I mean, something went wrong. That's all I know. I don't know if it was his mama, his daddy, something in the upbringing. I don't know. His mama might have got punched in the stomach. And I'm not saying that's cool, but I'm just saying something went wrong. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, something went wrong. But he makes more videos, y'all. He makes more videos. Here we go.
All the stereotypes about black people are true. They're true because we make them true. We reinforce every stereotype put.
Man, who is we? No, don't do that. Ain't no we. You a tether, boy. No, ain't no we. No, see, and this is why we gotta call them out. Ain't no we. How dare you talk about some we? Now he ain't gonna say that about his homeland. He ain't gonna say that about where his people from. But he gonna get on here on the internet and talk about some, yeah, we be making that. Ain't no we. Don't speak French, dude. Don't know. You is not us.
On us. We commit crime, we're loud, we're least educated, all these things that people say about black people. I'm not talking about just white people, I'm talking about everybody. They're true. We're never honest with ourselves. We're never truthful about what we're dealing with. We always got to find something to blame and something to complain about. We never want to get down and solve the problem.
Man, what is all this we you saying? I don't speak French. You saying we a lot. No, dude, you don't represent us and you don't speak for us. All of this, yeah, we got to do this and we got a problem and we enforce stereotypes and we be doing this and we be not. Don't do that because you do not speak for us. You do not represent us.
We're constantly focused on the past. So white people did this. Oh, they did this 100 years ago. Who fucking cares what they did? What are we doing now? Black people in this country will continue to be backwards behind because we want to be behind. Nobody's holding anyone back that's black just because they're black. We're held back because we don't want to put in the work. We don't want to put in the effort to maintain and build things for ourselves and other people. Every time we build something in our own communities or anybody else's communities, we're the first ones to come and fuck it up and destroy it. We need to do better.
Man, and no, you need to do better. I don't know how with that head. But ain't no we. Don't do no we. We are not no together. We are not together in none of that. Okay? We are not together. Shout out to Walter for the super chat, for the Cash App, and then Tawanda for the Cash App. Thank you very much, family. Appreciate you for the Cash Apps. Thank you very much. All right, appreciate the Cash Apps. Love the Cash Apps. Yeah, all of this we and all of this stuff, and this is the problem. The old people give the stepping stones and the blueprint to the young people and say, oh, every single problem in America, just reverse that and blame that on other black people. And that's what he does. Oh, we can't stick together. We can't stick together. We enforce stereotypes. We ain't no we, dude. Ain't no we. You. It's only you. And see, the old sellouts give it to the younger ones, and then they give it to the younger ones, and then they give it to the younger ones, and now we have this. And this is really sad. This is the saddest video I've seen in a very long time. Look at this. It's very short, but I'm going to play it. And I ain't going to say anything. I'm just going to play the whole thing through.
Stop fucking running from me.
Guess the race of the person who did that. I'll tell you, they were black. Of course they were. And this is why I don't even like to be around my own people. If I was that person in the other booth that got rants all over me, bro, I would have been so mad. Because why are you even doing that? And the person who did it in the comments was defending their actions, talking about it's funny, it's a joke. You're weird. You're weird, bro. Honestly, please be racist towards black people. Maybe that's gonna help them stop being like this. Because there's no saving the black community at this point. They're loud, obnoxious, irritating, rude, ghetto. I don't like to be around them. They have more cons than pros. So yeah, hopefully black people can stop acting like this, because them acting like this impacts me, because people are going to automatically think I act like this. Because that's how racial profiling happens. I blame the people who act like this, not the people who racially profile me. Because if they didn't act like this, I wouldn't be getting racially profiled.
That is sad. Honestly, all jokes aside, that is really sad. This child is 11 maybe? Couldn't really be older. I wouldn't, if you told me this child was older than 13, I wouldn't really believe it, to be honest. Possibly. This is a preteen. And what makes this so sad is because it's not, I'm not sure if it's a male or female, to be honest, but let's say it's a young boy. It's not, are you saying it's not her fault? It's not. This is essentially a baby, really, the way I see it. It's not this kid's fault. This is the fault of his parents or her parents. This is the fault of the parents. You think what they saving up, you think this kid is saving up his little allowance and getting a whole laptop with a microphone and a camera and all of this stuff and making videos against black people? No, this is a baby. And this is a baby that's set up to be the next Candace Owens. And the reason why we got to call this stuff out is because when Candace Owens, when Jesse Lee Peterson, when Thomas Sowell, when all of these people, when they start to make money, it starts to become a pathway to revenue. So you have a whole bunch of copycats who follow in that direction. And they get younger and younger and younger. And now up until the point where you damn near, you're not even old enough. You probably still in a damn car seat making videos about this is why white people are racist to black people. And this is why I get racially profiled, and please continue to be racist. Who do you think really put this kid up to that? Who do you think really bought a kid a computer and a microphone and a webcam? Who do you think? You think this kid pays for the internet in the house? No. But this is the parents feeling that they can make a bag by creating a little baby Sambo, a little baby, a little baby coon, a little baby sellout. And because of the age, you're so young, that makes you more marketable. That's how they view it. Or you're more marketable because you're so young. So yeah, get on the internet and say how much you don't like black people. You don't want to be around other black people. This is sad. This is sad. Because, and the reason why we calling this stuff out is because it's not gonna stop. Yeah, Thomas Sowell, yeah, he's not gonna be able to do that forever. Jesse Lee Peterson, he's not gonna be able to do that forever. Vince Ellison, he's not going to be able to do that forever, but the damage that he does is going to be repeated with the younger generation, in the younger generation, because they're going to view it as, hey, he was able to sell a book, hey, he was able to get a TV show, hey, he was able to get a podcast, hey, he was able to get this. I want that too. And that creates a thing of, well, selling out is a way to success. This is why we got to call this out, because now we got the damn preschoolers. Now, I'm not saying preschoolers, but you got the elementary schoolers coming out talking about they don't like black people on the internet. And then you're going to have a white person like, see, it's even the youth are saying that. The youth are saying that they don't like the blacks like me. This is sad. This is sad. It's disturbing. It really is. And this is why culturally we have to make sure that this is as ostracized as possible. Which is why we need to not play any games about what we need to be doing standing up for our lineage, which is why we do not need to be playing any games about reparations, which is why we don't need to be playing any games or giving any passes to any of the Candace Owens wannabes or whatever, because y'all think they might be cute or something like that, so y'all want to grade them on a curve, and we come on now, that happens, and y'all want to be all like, well, hold on, she is right about some things, though. She do be right about that and that and that and that, but she wrong about this and that and that and that and that, but you know what I'm saying. We need to stop this. Because earlier in the broadcast, I said white supremacy is a virus. White supremacy is a virus. Also, sellouts are also a virus. Coons are also a virus. Sambos are also a virus. Massa lovers are also a virus. And that virus is very contagious. Because unfortunately, what people see initially is that doing that gives them opportunities in life. Selling out gives you opportunities in life. Betraying your community gives you opportunities in life. And that becomes contagious. That becomes tempting for the younger generation. And when the younger generation sees the older folks who sell out, that makes the younger folks sell out. And now we got a whole bunch of the 10-year-olds on the internet talking about how it's okay to racially discriminate against her because some dude was playing in ranch at an Applebee's. This is a part of the movement that we are at right now. The circling the wagons. Because this stuff leads to this, I'm not sure the age or whatever the case is, but this stuff leads to this girl sitting up there being the next Candace Owens, making the next documentary about how we don't need racism. About how, well, if the kid would have just complied, he wouldn't have got shot by the police. This is why what we do here is very serious. What you guys do here is very serious. What this channel is about, what this channel represents is very serious. What I do and what I represent and who I am is very serious. Everything we do here is serious. We joke sometimes, we clown sometimes, but all of that is in the guise of making sure we get the job done. When we joke alongside of getting the job done. We joke as we work. We never stop the work. We never stop the momentum. We never stop the movement. Yeah, we joke and we laugh and we clown sometimes, and we have a good time as we're doing it from time to time, just to relieve some of the pressure and to enjoy the moment at the moment, but we are still getting the job done. The job is still getting done. It's always getting done. Ladies and gentlemen, it's sad. And every time I see that video, it makes me upset. It does. Talking about, I understand why I get racially discriminated. But thankfully, though, the only thing I can thank is the fact that that is the minority. I can thank the fact that that is the minority. I can thank God for the fact that most of us are not like that. Most of the youth are not like that. Most of the youth are not like that. And that's the positive part. That's the part that makes me feel like there is future. There is hope for the future. That most of the youth is not like that at all. Talk about, I don't want to be around black people. I see why we get racially discriminated against. Most of the youth is not like that. Most of the elders are not like that. All we got to do is hard. It's not an easy fight, but it is something we can do. All we got to do is make sure we stay on code and make sure that we culturally ostracize all of the people who are opposed to the community, who welcome harm to the community, who condone and justify harm of black people, we ostracize them culturally. That's all we have to do. And then, like tools, they will become useless. The only reason why they are useful is because they can infiltrate the community. If we stop the infiltration, they become useless and we cut the plug off. The reason they're doing that is because the dominant society views them as a tool. The reason they can be a tool is because they can infiltrate the community. If we stop the infiltration of the community, then they can't do that. Then the dominant society doesn't even have a use for them. They will stop even trying to get some of them, recruit some of them, because it's a useless tool. And one thing about the dominant society is the dominant society does not like useless tools. They don't like the tools they have. They get rid of their own tools. They do. Family, we got a job to do, and we staying on it. But I got some stuff I got to handle. We got some more good content coming up for you guys. We got some more good stuff coming up for you guys, so I got to get to handling that. The key takeaways from this video is that we got to make sure when we see it, we call it out, we debunk it, we ostracize them, we make them uncool. We make them such a taboo that the youth don't even see that as an option. We make selling out such a taboo that the youth will see it and they will get repelled. They will cringe at the option of selling out. That's what we need. We need selling out. We need a tap dancing and being a damn mammy or Uncle Tom and Masa lover, Zaddy lover. We need that to be cringe-worthy. That's what we need. And if we do that, we'll stop the people from ever even trying it. Now, if you guys have not gotten the notifications, if y'all don't get the notifications, that happens. You guys can follow me on social media. The link is in the description. That's both on Afro Elite on Instagram and Twitter. All right. But what's very important is y'all making sure y'all hit that like button. That's very important. Y'all making sure y'all hit that subscribe button. That's very, very important. And that notification bell, so that way you guys do not miss out on anything. Okay? Y'all don't miss out on nothing. Make sure y'all hit all of that stuff. All right? Family, I appreciate you all. See now. Come on, Mouse. Don't do that. Family, I appreciate you all being with us this evening. We got some good stuff coming up for y'all. Thank you, guys. Oh, and on the For the Culture channel, too, we got some really good stuff. So y'all make sure y'all subscribe to that. Family, thank you all for watching. Be one of every single last one of you all, and y'all stay blessed.